All right. As always, we begin with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the purpose of this meeting is for a second and third reading, and a vote will be taken on the proposed modification of the local income tax. On July 25th, we did conduct a public hearing in accordance with the state statute, and all taxing units were notified as required. And at that meeting, we did vote on the ordinance, but at the meeting when you first introduce an ordinance, you have to have a unanimous vote in order for it to pass, which we had a vote, I think 5-2, which requires us to conduct a second and third reading. That's what we're here for tonight. Not a public hearing, but anybody wishing to speak, you should have signed up on here. I think we will take, if you wish to speak, I would ask that you keep it brief. The first on the list is Steve Owen.
Okay, members of the council, thanks for the privilege of making a statement at this meeting. I'm reading my statement today in the interest of efficiency and precision. Otherwise, I'd round. My name is Steve Owen. I live at 401 10th Street in Tell City, and I've lived at various residences in Tell City for the last 31 years. Full disclosure, I'm running for county council this November on a Democratic ticket. So if anybody here doesn't know, that's full disclosure. I'd like to start by giving you some statistics. The population of Perry County in the 2020 census was 19,170. The population of the three towns of Tell City, Hamilton, and Troy was 9,340, or 48%, 48.7% of the county. On the county commissioners board, we have 2 Republicans and 1 Democrat. If anybody doesn't know this, I'm giving you the lowdown here. On the county council, we have 6 Republicans and 1 Democrat. The first point is I want to repeat that the towns of Tell City, Hamilton, and Troy account for 48.7% of the county population. And the citizens of these towns are just as important as the citizens of the county. No more, no less. Second point is that the Republicans on both governing bodies have the power. They can essentially do whatever they want. Don't be nervous about that, Republicans. I can't steal your power. You have it. In a situation where you're in total power, you can govern one of 2 ways. You can collaborate with those who are not in power, still understanding that you get the win in the end, if that still seems to be the right way to go. Or you can govern with an iron fist, not seeking input and just jamming through any pet projects that happen to be on your agenda. And you may passively believe in those pet projects, but they may not match up with everybody's pet projects. Clearly, this council is in the mode of governing with an iron fist. You guys need to understand that. That's what you're doing.
No.
Oh, yes.
No.
You're making a change that heavily affects several important local institutions and industries, yet you have voted not to talk to them first. That's what's happening. It seems to me there are 3 possible ways to vote on this. Number 1 is no. Well, that's not going to happen. You know that. Number 2 is yes, with no further collaboration. And we pretty much think that that's getting ready to happen. And then number 3 is no until discussions are held with the affected parties, and then a revote will be taken and the proposed actions may or may not be modified. That's a possible vote. The third option is what should happen. If the shoe were on the other foot, the Republicans would feel like number 3 would be the right option, and they would squeal, and rightfully so, just like the Democrats are squealing now. That's the truth of the matter. Alan, you're a Democrat, so thanks for your vote.
Sure, other shoulder speak.
Paul, are you talking about?
I said Alan, I like you too.
Oh, that's all I did.
I need to call you. I meant to say Paul, I apologize, Paul. I know Paul very well. I don't know why I wrote Alan on here. I guess my brain doesn't work as well as it used to. Keith, thanks for showing you have an independent mind and some guts. Thanks for your vote. Kelly, you are the principal council driver of this. You showed that by speaking about 95% of the time in the last meeting. Everyone knows that there's another individual outside the council who is also orchestrating. And let's not make the white elephant in the room. No. It's clear your vote, Kelly, cannot be mine. So I'm not bugging you out here. David, Erla, Stan, Gail, I know by reputation or because I know you personally that individually you're all nice people. But your yes vote on this measure and your unwillingness to sit down with the affected parties before acting means that you are comfortable with the idea of crushing those not in power, but nonetheless a significant part of your constituencies without giving them a voice and process. This is a fact. I mean, if you deny that fact, then you're not able to look objectively at things. Opposition to this measure is significant, not just a couple of crazy people. You have a room full of people. This is a pivotal moment in my mind. I'm kind of new to the political scene here, so maybe there's a lot under the bridge, but this is a pivotal moment in the relationships of Republicans and Democrats in Perry County. On the one side are those in power, aggressors, non-listeners, oppressors, or collaborators. What's it going to be? On the other side are those not in power, those who are ignored and oppressed, and whose voices should at least be heard. A yes vote for this measure is a vote to ignore and oppress. Don't make the mistake of ending up here, of thinking the Democrats started something here. This is a Republican, as voted in the last meeting, this is a Republican power move that sets back relations in the county immensely. I urge you to vote no and then vote yes to collaborating before a new vote is taken in the coming weeks or months. And I thank you for the chance to comment.
Next on the list is Megan Pritchard.
Hi, guys. Okay. Dang. Yes, I agree with everything you said. That was amazing. So I have questions, not so much a statement. In the last meeting, was there one citizen who asked you to do this?
What?
Just keep that in mind. Was there one citizen in the last meeting out of the 86 who were there who was in favor of this and came and spoke publicly about it? Okay, that's. I just want you to keep that in your mind. There wasn't.
Well,
Also, I would like to know how each member feels about this because it was very overpowered, and I want to know everybody's thoughts on it. I understand, and I've been told that Kelly did a lot of research and homework on it. Okay, which is, I'll be honest with you, I don't even know what the options are. It seems like there's only been one presented. So if I come across as argumentative, I'm not trying to. I know how much work you do. I do. But what else is there? And we have every leader in our community saying, please freaking don't. Please, because you're taking, and 48.7% of people this is going to affect. That's insane. So before you vote, and I'll sit down before that happens, but I want to know how each person, because this is a 7-member council, feels about this specific vote and why you want it. Where do you stand? I also want to know exactly, if you take these funds, what they're going to be used for specifically. I've asked a visitor from the hospital to come today because I met with him yesterday on ambulances. And if we do get another ambulance besides the one we already will get in March, there's nobody to run it. So if we order another ambulance with this, we don't need to do that because there's nobody to use it. And we don't have more than 2 ambulances on the road 95% of the time. Is that fair? Okay. So, we talked about that, and I'm not opposed to planning, and I don't think anyone else in the community is either. But where I really hope everyone understands is the leadership before you has already planned. So that means you would be saying, nope, no plans, they're gone. Because they've already put that money somewhere. So that takes away their plans to budget this edit money. It's just not okay, especially for Hamilton, especially for Troy. And I'm not saying Tell City's not important. It wouldn't break them, but it would keep a lot of things from coming in. So I appreciate you listening. And I would want to know exactly where the dollars that you're going to take from that edit portion, because there will still be $1.3 million left in the edit if you take this money. So exactly what dollar amounts are you going to put where? Because I think maybe if people knew what you were going to do with the money, you might not get a fight, as much of a fight. There's just been no communication other than meeting notices. So how does every member feel? What will the funds be specifically used for, and what are the exact dollar amounts of where they're going to go?
David, where do you want to start?
Well, first of all, the money, it's clearly stated it will be going, 0.1% will be going to emergency medical services, 1% will be going to correctional rehabilitation facilities, and 0.03 will be going to public safety for dedication of PSAP. That's where the money's going.
Can you read those approximate amounts, David,
The approximate amounts,
of the additions?
I need to find that.
I have it on there.
You have it?
Well, I mean, it's on here. So if you'd like me to read it, I can. So let's see.
I think I have it.
The EMS, it's an approximate additional $143,994 a year. Of course, it depends on the income, so the more people make, the more you'll gain there. And then the next one, the EMS is the 0.1, it's for $143,994. The PSAP is 0.03. Where's that at?
You have the EMS is at 479.
Oh, 479, sorry, yeah. The EMS is 479,981.
And so is the correctional
Yes, so the jail operations is the 479,981. It's correctional rehab operations. And then, the PSAP is
These are all to fund county services that we are mandated or obligated to.
it's a 1.1 million is what it is total for those three things, for the EMS, the jail operations, and the PSAP. The issue is we don't bring in enough money to fully fund those things. And we have to bring in enough money, you can ask Jared, we've struggled with properly funding the EMS. I mean, he came last year with a large amount that he needed. We pay two different things. We pay a subsidy, which is for whatever loss they experience, from the insurance claims and all the costs, operational costs, those type things. And then we also pay for the equipment. We have to buy the ambulances and any equipment that they need. Last year we went out and met with Jared and I think it was Brandon at that time. And we talked about the ambulances and the situation and the shape that they're in, and they're not in great shape. I mean, they have issues. Some of them have 300,000 miles. I mean, and when you say we planned for them, we haven't. We don't have any money put back for those things.
I think last year.
That's why we had to,
That request was over 800,000.
it was over 800,000 and we didn't give them near that much because we didn't have it. I mean, we
budgeted 35,000 in equipment and they didn't spend 17,996 of it.
I'd like to also make a comment also that if everybody recalls, public may not know this, that Jared was nice enough to write the ambulance debt off if the county bought an ambulance. So in a roundabout way, he bought an ambulance. A lot of people forgot
we used
about
our ARP funds and tribal funds to purchase the tribal funds for the one that we just got. And then that's a one-time fund. That's just something that we got from the
That was
federal
also a
government.
bill we didn't pay the hospital.
Well, we weren't invoiced for it either.
Right.
What is-
At the end of the day, we're not bringing in enough money to pay for these vital services. I mean, Jared, do you concur that we're not paying our fair share of what we need to pay to adequately keep up with the subsidy and the ambulances and the equipment inside? I remember the conversation I had with Brandon Berger, the MS director at the time last year, and he was talking about the cardiac monitors and how they have 4 cardiac monitors because they had 4 running ambulances, 2 that were running at all times and 2 backup. And that those 4 cardiac monitors were out of date. So if something happens, they said they use those on every single call. And if something happens, they can't get parts for them. They're just done.
Don't use them on every single call.
Well, that's what I was told, Keith. So you can take that up with the EMS director.
So I'm reasonably sure that I know
Okay.
that you don't use a cardiac.
Well,
monitor
that's what I was
every call.
told from the EMS director. It was very vital that we have that on every call, that someone can be hooked up.
So can I
So-
ask,
Do you put
And you need-
information on the hospital floor?
And they were like,
Cardiac
you need
monitor?
1.1 million?
from those 3, yes.
So there's 1.7 in the edit funds for the county. Right now, that's 151% to goal, or estimated to be at 181%.
No, In the county funds, you mean?
The edit funds, if you.
Our slice of the pie, you mean?
City's money, that's 1.7. If you leave it, you still have 1.3 in your budget for edit lit dollars. So I don't know.
We have an edit plan just like every entity has, because the edit funds come in and then they're not evenly, but they're distributed based on certain formula that the state set up. So Candleton gets their share, Tell City gets their share, the county gets their share, and Troy gets their share.
Right, but you're
So-
voting to take those shares and the county get all shares, right?
No, not at all. The county's gonna lose 600 and something thousand too. We're the biggest loser in all of this. But the problem is, we're taking that money and we're shifting it over here to where we can take that 1.1 million total from here and put it over toward the required services we have to have of jail operations, PSAP, and dispatch. That's what this is.
Let me get in here. I had firsthand knowledge of the emergency services needed for here. I had a daughter-in-law who was very sick with cancer for about 5 years. They came to the house and they brought her in an ambulance. They did not have anything, another ambulance or whatever, to move her to Louisville where her surgeon was at. And this happened, I don't know how many times. She was very, very sick. And we did not have the correct services here they had to call Crawford Emergency to come here all that time and then take her to, and she was deathly sick. But she's no longer with us now, but
Ambulance was available, personnel was not available, Stan.
no,
But part of the problem, staffing, we do subsidize that too, because it's a part of the operation. So if we need additional staffing and wages, let's say wages are a problem, then they have to increase the wages, then the subsidy for the wages is gonna come back on us and we have to pay more.
wait till you guys, this family needs this. I tell you, I didn't think too much about it at the time, but I think a lot about it now. You got to have the emergency services, and if they got to go to Evansville or Louisville or whatever, then they need to have the
I
equipment
have a
to
little
get.
girl who did chemotherapy at home for 3 years, so I get it. My thing is, if this had happened before, we would be here tonight. Like, just talking about what is going on. And I'll tell you another thing is, if we ask something, respond. We're your public. You have to, whether you like us or not. And, the not getting responses. I have to.
We followed every procedure to do this, as I did when we did away with the jail tax. I did that, not Luke Thomas, as Larry Kleeman reported at the council meeting. I did that when we did away with the jail tax. And we did the same thing, but we didn't have all this drama or whatever it is. We didn't have it. We did the same thing.
Well, that's because nobody knew
It's-
about it.
What do you mean they didn't know
Well,
about it?
after it's already done, no one.
They knew about it. We had meetings. We met in May, June, July.
Yes. And actually, I would like to correct that from last meeting. It was said, I believe, Chris, you said that we did not talk about this in any public meeting before June 27th or 28th, but that was actually not true. It was May 30th, and it was voted on, so.
It was voted to consult Baker Tilly. No numbers, no figures or anything were given, no numbers. It was.
Not May 30th. That was the initial when we're gonna bring it up and start looking into it, so.
I can look at meeting minutes, and if I'm wrong,
That's
I'm
fine.
wrong, but.
That's fine.
I was acting as
Minutes.
president on behalf of the council. How does this stuff going to get completed if we don't do this? You know, I don't understand what your problem is. I'm told.
So
We
basically-
did consult everybody.
Basically, we have edit funds.
Yeah, we did.
We have edit funds that are not required by the state. You don't have to have them. Some counties, Vanderbilt County has 0. Another county, I think it's maybe Marion County, I don't want to speak out of turn, I have that, they have 0. We don't have to have any. We recognize it's important to have those. I think that, you know, they're crucial, they're vital to the economy. They do things that are very good, the paving matches, all those type things. But in this instance, instead of raising the taxes and keeping everything where it is and just raising the taxes on the people who can't hardly take any more. I mean, you know, we're in this, you know, hard times. I mean, I listened to the Vesper service the other day, and I heard Lacey from United Way talk about how people have to choose between their light bill or feeding their family. So I don't think adding additional burdens on the taxpayer is the answer. I think getting creative and finding ways to take take some part of a tax down to put things toward a required service. We're required by the state of Indiana to fund the EMS, the jail operations, and the dispatch service. That's all county residents. It's not just the city. It's not just Carrollton, Tell City, and Troy. It's all county residents. And when we modify this tax rate, it takes them from a fund that's, I don't want to say optional because, I mean, it's not required. It's the edit funds are not a requirement, and moving them over to things that we are required to do. And those 3 things, to me, are just really critical. So EMS, dispatch, and the jail operations, we have to have those. Those affect all residents. Anytime anybody's arrested, we have to have a place to put them, right? So I believe Mr. Malone or Sheriff Malone asked in his budget for next year for 2 new jail officers. It's not because our population is going down in the jail. It's because it's increasing. And I know I've saw some things on social media that our community is, you know, extremely safe and all these things. Our crime is going up and the severity of it is going up. And you can see that by the arrests or, you know, it's all public information. You can see it. So we need to make sure we have enough staff there so that we can do things and properly operate that jail. And so those type things, adding additional officers, jail staff, those type things, we have to have those. We have to have ambulances. We don't have any money set aside right now for the next ambulance. And did you know, like, to order an ambulance today, if we ordered a brand new one, not a remount, it's up to 2-year wait time. So if we order it today, we have about a 2-year wait. So we have to plan ahead and we have to start putting back money now so that in 2 years, we'll have that money. If we ordered one today, we wouldn't get it for a couple of years.
But there is one coming in March.
There is one coming in March, but so we'll have 2 new ones is what I would technically
So
call.
4 total?
No, I would call, we have 2 new ones and then it depends if the commissioners take the other old ones out of service, which some of them need to come out of service in my opinion, but that's not my decision. Because there's no reason to just have a bunch of 300,000 mile ambulances sitting around that have issues. You know, we're paying insurance and maintenance costs and things on them. I don't know what the agreement is, if they need 4 or 5, what you guys think you actually need, but we want 4 or 5 operational. If we have 2 on the road that are brand new, I want 2 that are functional as backup in case, you know, one of them goes down or something happens, or we get a 3rd crew sometime. Every once in a while, we get a 3rd crew. I would like to have a 3rd crew all the time so that when one's out on transfer, we still have one out in the county and one in the city. But I think it's important.
If you don't take these funds from the cities, because I'm confused because you said.
And it's not just the cities, it's the county too. We're also losing $644,952.
Okay, if you don't take these funds, we're not gonna be able to pay for corrections.
I'm saying if we don't take this 1.1 million and reallocate it to where it needs to go, we're gonna have to come up with 1.1 million somewhere else. So it's gonna mean cuts or it's gonna mean people, positions, services, something has to go. You have to give up something in order to get something else. I mean, that's just how it is. Unless you raise the taxes, which
Right.
I'm not interested in because we're just not in good times where people can just withstand tax increases. That's my opinion, but
I think the key is, these are all policy questions and where to go. That's not the problem, why you've got this many people here. Problem is you think that you reached out and nobody else thinks that. And it's the method and manner in which you approach it that makes all the difference. Maybe we would come to the exact same place if you had reached out to the community leaders in a respectful, proper way.
Our council meetings are videotaped, so is commissions.
Your comment, people do not know
What
that.
do you mean, yeah? I mean, really?
you come to them. I see you here. I know you know.
I'm gonna move on. The next speaker who signed up was Jeff Hagerton.
Thank you, folks. It's been some time since I've been to the county meetings. I'm Jeff Hagedorn. I'm city attorney for the city of Tell City. I'm here tonight in that capacity. I will indeed be brief. I have prepared a statement which I'm going to read. I'm not going to talk about the need for ambulances or to fund the jail or anything else. I'm going to point out that Perry County has established a local income tax council pursuant to Indiana Code Section 6, 3.631. Perry County adopted an edit tax March 5th, 1990. And it was the Perry County Local Tax Council that adopted that. Perry County Income Tax Council consists of the fiscal body of the county, which is these folks here. But it also consists of the fiscal body of each city or town that lies either partially or entirely within the county. That means, in common terms, that the Perry County Income Tax Council consists of the Perry County Council, the Tell City Common Council, the Canton Common Council, and the Troy Town Board. The Perry County Income Tax Council is the appropriate body to consider the allocation of LIT funds pursuant to the Indiana Code, which includes providing notice to the affected municipal units within the Perry County Income Tax Council jurisdiction. The city of Tell City has received no notice from the Perry County Income Tax Council of any proposal to change the allocation of LIT funds within the jurisdiction of the Perry County Income Tax Council, as required by Indiana Code Section 6, 3.637. The only notice provided to the city of Tell City was provided by the Perry County Council, acting unilaterally and contrary to the Indiana Code in an effort to adjust the LIT allocation within the jurisdiction of the Perry County Income Tax Council. Because the Perry County Council is not the proper body to adopt a revision of the allocation of LIT funds, the actions of the Perry County Council are not in compliance with the provisions of the Indiana Code. The notice previously provided by the Perry County Council is invalid. The prior hearing of the Perry County Council to consider an ordinance amending the LIT allocation is invalid. And any action taken by the Perry County Council in furtherance of these matters will likewise be invalid. Should the Perry County Council decide to move forward with these matters in contravention of the requirements of the Indiana Code, the city of Tell City is prepared to take any and all steps necessary to challenge these invalid actions. However, should the Perry County Council wish to take a step back, involve the municipalities as they are required to do, the city of Tell City welcomes an open discussion regarding the allocation of LIT funds. Thank you very much.
If that's the case, then we've been in violation of the
I want to make a motion, we table it.
and our attorney told us that we were procedural, everything was correct.
It's the
Everything was
proper
correct.
Records.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's what they said. And I talked to the DLGF and their attorneys there also said this is the proper procedure.
and
So
also Ben Dorff, who was he's now no longer there. He also said what we had done was correct. So I don't know where we're coming with this or.
I suppose if we vote on it tonight
I think to do
and
it right,
we
we
could
can
get-
table this and let the attorneys, all attorneys involved take care of it. And then
I'd
come
like
back
to proceed and
If you don't table it, you're gonna have a legal fight. And who wants to pay the lawyers?
I was a lawyer, I know. So, I mean, you're gonna have a legal fight, and they're gonna be fighting, you're gonna be paying attorney's fees on both sides. And where does that get you? It is best,
Well, or we,
I've always thought best to work it out amongst yourselves.
Or we could
I'm
vote
a big
to-
believer in mediation, when I practice and, settlement discussions and everything else, because as I found out, that was the most economical way to go.
I'll tell you
So,
what,
spend more lawyer funds.
we have an election coming up. Y'all let the people of Perry County decide. And if we change, if it changes the structure, then they can go back to the way they want.
This will all be done though.
well, I think
Still
if we vote today and we find out, we can have our attorneys get with, and the DLGF attorneys get with Jeff. No problem tomorrow. And if there's something wrong, we can hold another meeting in 48 hours. We can do something totally
The
different.
biggest thing is they want collaboration. If you didn't catch that, they want you to talk to them first, Aaron, give her the appropriate talk to people who are gonna lose the money, Smokey, Chris, David is not here, but, Eric, you know, the people who are going, they had to rely on these funds, and no one's gotten communication on, can we do this? Can we do this? Here, how about this? We've got this fund, we can move here. Jenny Berner was here last time and said, you guys still have opioid money. I mean, you found $700,000 for a prosecutor's office. You can at least have some emails with.
We didn't find that.
That's restricted funds that cannot be
It was
used for
Allen's
anything.
restricted fund though, and that was changed.
Oh, it wasn't
So
Allen's,
why-
it was for
wasn't
the jail.
Allen's.
It was the jail's restricted fund, so.
It was the taxpayers'
semantics.
fund.
It was the taxpayers' funds.
Now, well, these are taxpayer funds, and
Yeah.
we are taxpayers.
It-
You're taxpayers. And there's a lot more of us that couldn't come because this was planned during Schweitzer Fest, a night out event. Or else this room would be so packed, nobody could sit.
And the reason that it was planned for today, because I spoke up and I said I would like to have it as sooner than later, is because I know everybody is planning on their budgets, and we don't want to drag this on and on and on to where people can't even work on their budgets. I know the counties, we're getting ready to start our budget session. I know Tell City and Candleton and Troy are probably doing the same thing. And there's no reason to just, put this out another week and another week, because we need to get this going and figure it out. Either we're going to do it or we're not going to do it, and move forward.
But David, what good is it gonna do to us to vote and approve it tonight until city files suit? We're gonna have to talk to the.
Well, we can have
Yeah,
our,
we can
we can have our
another
attorney
meeting.
speak to them tomorrow after the vote.
I have a question. This has been drug out for several weeks, and all this argument and all the drama, as David said, which I take offense to. But you guys could have been collaborating that entire time instead of all this back and forth and all this back and forth.
So communication is a two-way street.
Absolutely.
It's
But
not a
whenever
one-way
you guys
street.
say, that it's in the ball's in your court, and when you guys say, it's public, that is, your common people are not gonna pull this up on YouTube, they're not gonna watch it.
We have a lot of people watch. We have like
I
1,200
said
watch.
you're common.
I have 10,000.
And also, is the prison in the county number?
Yes.
What?
And it's around 1,500. I don't know what it is right now,
Yeah.
but you're right. I agree with you.
It's just, to me, just collaborate, that's all everybody's asking for. I'm not being rude.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Please don't
I
do
understand.
that.
I just, in my mind, I'll just say where I'm coming from. In my mind, that, we did everything, we tried to do everything appropriately by what the DLGF said you have to do. You have to give a 10-day notice to all the taxing entities. I guess I just thought that if they had an issue, they would reach out, or, I didn't get anybody reaching out to me. So if there was
A phone call is all it takes. I don't care if you.
but this is, I don't hate anybody.
I'm
This is
not
a
saying- I'm
proposal.
not saying you specifically. I'm
Okay.
just saying that a phone call,
Okay, but it's a two-way street. If Tell City had a question, they could have picked up the phone and called me. They could have emailed me, but they didn't. They,
I read the emails.
okay, nobody from Tell City emailed me. I'm just gonna make it clear.
You're not the president of the council.
I'm just gonna make it clear.
David is. And then Gail still
And
hasn't
that's-
said anything.
and that's actually why we
Earl
have a-
still hasn't said anything, and Paul still hasn't said anything. We understand where David stands and Kelly stands all the time, and they are caught in a fight, and no one listens. You guys knew what you were gonna do before we got in this room. Steve is absolutely 1,000% right.
What?
It has got to stop. We have 15 different things exactly like this one, and it's because nobody communicates. Period. And people don't reach out because they know you're not gonna listen. David, you're not even looking at it. It's the same thing in every meeting.
You go on and on.
I would like to,
Right.
I would like to go ahead and vote on it, and then if let our attorneys and the DLGF attorney. Okay.
We don't need any more lawsuits, we don't want any more lawsuits.
Well, we could have our attorneys speak after the vote, and if it's not proper, we could redo it. We have an attorney that we pay.
I second Paul's motion.
There's no reason to drag this out.
Okay, a motion by Paul to table, second by Keith. Any other discussion?
I just don't think there's any reason to drag it out. If we go ahead and take a vote on it today, we can get with the attorney tomorrow. We can have the DLGF attorney reach out to Jeff Hagedorn, and he can have that conversation with them, because this is exactly what we've done with every other. I haven't been involved in them, but the past LIT modifications, that's exactly how they have been.
Everybody's had a chance to get their opinion.
I don't think so. They don't have nothing to do
You
with it.
say I all the time, and I
To
don't
listen
see
to
that
him.
really.
Well, I don't, because I don't speak for anybody
I
else.
know that you are.
That-
He just made a
No,
motion.
I'm speaking for, I'm,
Nobody else can talk. Why
No.
don't you be quiet and let the rest of them talk?
no, they can speak up at any time when they want to. I don't tell them that they can't talk.
Over them.
No, I do not. I absolutely do not, and I don't yell from the crowd. Yeah, I think this is enough. David, this is enough. This is out of hand.
Should we go ahead with the public comments first, that people who had signed in here? Martha?
Yeah, I was just wondering, there was one motion and it was seconded.
Yeah, but technically,
Did
in
you
the
wanna
law order, we can't do any business until we're through with all the public
Okay.
comments. That's why
That's
we're
probably proper.
halting the business, because public comments have to finish first.
Okay. I must admit, I didn't want to be here. I rushed back from Evansville.
Well, thank you for being here.
I am not running for politics. I tried to avoid it like the plague. But I believe in process. And that's the problem I had with this process that's been going on. We may end up where you're at today. But I was just curious as to, I'm still confused about the ambulances and whether there's an immediate need, since we have 2 new ones coming in. I don't know what the life expectancy of those ambulances are. If they're 4 or 5 years, we have a little bit of time to address it. So you wouldn't have to rush it through here. The second question I had was the departments, or are the departments who are getting this additional money, have they made a specific request for that money? And have they listed a specific project they're gonna use that money for? I understand you want money for public safety and all that, but I want to go back to the department heads and hear from them as to what they need, because they're in the best position to determine what that is. And I just want to know where they're going to spend that money. Not that it's going to be for public safety, but give me some specifics. I was just curious because, yes, I was involved in the solid waste department meeting now. And now the county has taken that over, which I was just curious because there goes another $500,000 you're going to need to come up with. For the life of me, I don't understand why they won't send out the $45 bill. It was my understanding that would bring in $300-some thousand, which makes up the difference between the bag tags and everything else. So my question is, since the county has now taken over, I guess once the proper ordinances get written, signed, and so forth, are you going to take that out edit funds? Because we understand from newspaper articles and everything else that that is what the county wanted to do. They wanted to take it out edit funds. So will there be additional reductions in the edit funds in order to take care of trash
No.
and recyclables? Where's that money coming from?
Well, the newspaper articles were incorrect, just to make that clear.
I know Randy,
they were
Randy wanted to use edit funds. That was a big discussion.
A portion of them.
Okay.
Of excess edit funds for 1 year in order to get the solid waste operations more efficient so that they could figure out if the $45 is what that needs to be, or if it needs to be less, or if it needs to be more, or what that looks like. That was the whole intent of that.
Okay, and, I've used the solid waste and I've used commercial carriers. I will tell you right now that I willingly pay $45 to take my recyclables. 20 years ago, when I used a commercial service, we put out, my parents used it, they put out basically a bag a week. That 20 years ago was $20 minimum. So I was paying they were $240 a year to take care of their trash, and then $45 to take care of recyclables.
Mhm.
$285. I can tell you now that I pay a third of that by using recycling and using trash bags. So unfortunately, getting rid of trash is gonna cost money. I understand that 2,000 people used those services last month. And if you take the figure I was paying for trash of $240 a year, that's already $480,000, close to $500,000, which is what the budget is. So I agree that everything should be done for terms of efficiency, but I really just don't know how efficient the solid waste department is.
I think that's what they're looking at now.
Well, you shouldn't tear it apart by not taking the fee and causing all this
That's
chaos.
solid waste, that's,
Yeah.
we're on this.
Well, no, but I understand that the commission, they told us.
That's
that
another.
They told us they're gonna take it over, and they said they're gonna get the money from the council. You're the council, you're the money holder. But anyway, I was most interested in that would come more from the edit funds. And yeah, I do plan to go to the next meeting. Has anyone looked into the issue that Ms. Bruner raised, which is using opiate funds?
Opiate funds are just like, to me, they're just like the one-time use funds for the ARP or the tribal. It's kind of like they're from settlements that the Attorney General of Indiana has
I
had
understand
lawsuits.
that.
So they're not funds that are going to be replenished.
But any
Unless
emergency
there's more
circumstances, they can be used for that.
We're looking for long-term solutions.
Long-term
I
planning.
understand that, but in order for
Yeah.
long-term solutions, you've got to follow a process where you get consensus. Because if you don't follow a process that gets consensus, the next group coming in may blame the Republican Party
Yeah.
and say, we're going to change it. You've got to get consensus, or it's going to tear up everything. And I am not a Democrat. I think of myself as an independent, but I'm actually a registered Republican. But I've never voted a straight ticket here in my life.
All the political stuff doesn't matter to me. When it comes to this,
I'm
it's
just
just what I
saying, I'm
think is
not
right and
coming
what's
from the
wrong.
political point.
Yeah.
I just want
I know there was a lot of statements
I want
earlier.
to come from a common sense standpoint and from the standpoint of keeping this community together.
Yeah.
Because it is being split apart. And I hate that it's being split apart at the higher levels above us
Mhm.
in the US, Senate, Congress. I hate it. And I don't think the majority of people are that way.
It's gonna get worse.
I understand.
I'm not disagreeing, and it shouldn't get worse. We should get better.
All we're trying to do is properly plan for the future. There's a lot of things in this county that's been neglected for many years. And I could probably provide you a list. And it's for the betterment of the residents that we, we properly plan for these things and funding for these things so that we have them. Public safety with the ambulance, the dispatch, and the jail operations, that affects everyone, every single person in here and in this entire community.
And as they were saying, there's almost 49% of people who live in the cities, and you are taking money away from the cities.
We're taking, but also from the county. It's not
I
just the
understand
cities.
that, but I'm saying you're taking some of their money, and it is going.
We're just reallocating it.
You are taking some of their money, and you're going to use it for services that the county's supposed to provide.
That we're not bringing in enough money for, so
I
we're
understand,
asking them
but you're
to.
still taking away from the city, and you're giving it to functions that are the county's responsibility. So
That every resident needs
if
to
my
pay for.
if people came and took my money, I'd be complaining too.
But the Hill City residents, the Hamilton residents, and the Troy residents are still residents of Perry County. So
They
that
should
tax
pay
that they
also.
pay,
I'm not disagreeing that they should pay. I'm just saying that their elected representatives should get a say. Again, I'm in favor of a process. You may end up in the same way, but I agree in the collaboration. I understand, I watched the last meeting. I was at the solid waste one and I wasn't gonna sit, I got a bad back, so I wasn't gonna sit for another 3 hours and not get up and move. Huh?
Good choice.
Yeah, I'm older than I look. And I've had back problems since I've been 13. I was the surgeon's youngest patient, and I'm not proud of that record. But anyway, again, I believe in the process. And at that meeting, I heard the mayor offer to get together, and I wish we would. I also wanted to ask a question of, during that meeting, well, let me ask this one first. I know you started talking about and spoke a lot about the edit rate, and that we were one of the highest ones in the county.
at stake.
Yeah. So I was doing some research and I was trying to get a list. I must admit, I thought I found it, but then I couldn't pull it up on my little laptop. No, excuse me, iPad. I've done away with most technology. And that's where I found out different communities fund economic development in different ways.
That's right.
So it is hard to compare apples to oranges. So I wanted to find out what their income tax base was, which I couldn't do because, if you have $100
I can show
income,
you where to get that if you'd like.
if you write it down,
Yeah.
I have it.
I'll just, yeah, I'll get it.
I did email you once, I never got a response, so.
You did?
Yeah, I emailed Paul, he responded. I
Okay, what was it
emailed,
about?
Leaving, and he responded. You're the only one I emailed and I didn't get a response.
Okay, what was it about?
It was about this
This?
stuff. It was after the meeting it was about all of it.
Okay. I don't
So-
remember getting an email from you about the LIT taxes or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, the whole bottom line in mine was collaboration. I wanted to be one happy family. So
Yeah,
anyway.
I'm usually very prompt at answering
I got lost in the Ethernet or whatever.
I'll check when I get back home.
But anyway, in that research, I also found out that you talked about our lit rate being 1.4%.
Mhm.
The average is 1.6.
Well, I said, yeah, it's 1.4.
Yours is 1.4. The average among all 92 counties is 1.6.
Okay, so we're lower than average, so I think that's good.
Well, it could be unless you're eliminating services that are needed. So, for projects that are needed. So again, I'm not saying raise the taxes.
Yeah.
I hate paying taxes too. But in order to provide the community with the service it needs, I'm willing to do it. And in fact, if you need an ambulance, I would respond to a GoFundMe account. Been the first to write you a check. Let's see. Mrs. Bruner came up forth and asked for $50,000. And your response was, okay, we've got to get a committee together. And we've got to get all the stakeholders together. And then you come forward to us with a proposal. That was for $50,000. This is for $1.1 million. So why haven't you put together a committee to study the proposal, study the options, and go from there? Maybe you don't need the total 1.1, maybe you can get some from other places. So I was going to tell an anecdote. I will go ahead. I happen to be lucky. I have a brother who's a doctor, and I have a grandnephew who's a doctor. And I came back to take care of my elderly parents. That's a job. But I was lucky because I had someone to call. So one night late on a Sunday, my mother was in terrible pain. It's like, why didn't you tell me before Sunday night? We didn't have emergency care facilities. So I called Steve, and Steve says, he's a great diagnostician. He's a family practitioner. He said, it's in her back. And I said, okay. I got her in the doctor the next day. And I was arguing a little bit with him. And because Steve says it's in her back. And then I have Dad with Joanne Electric back at home trying to take insulin, give him insulin shots and take his blood sugar. But anyway, the doctor says, pat her on the knee. And I didn't argue. Jean, you have a kidney stone. And Mom says, no, I've had kidney stones. This doesn't feel like kidney stones. Jean, trust me, you've got a kidney stone. Well, we took her to the hospital. She had a procedure. She didn't have a kidney stone. It was in her back. So I talked to my brother about it a little bit, and he used the Latin phrase, which is not in the law, so I had never heard of it. I said, what does that mean? He says, that means listen to your patient. They will tell you what's wrong. I tell you that anecdote because I want you to listen to your electorate. They will tell you what they want. And the other thing is, people aren't always right. I believe the doctor, he was wrong. And I must admit, I would never take my parents back to him again. But again, the story is, listen to your electorate. They will tell you what they want. And all they've been asking for, at least it seems to me like, is communication, collaboration, and let's keep the family together instead of falling apart. So you can do this now and get the lawyers involved, but I really believe that's the wrong way to do. Ask the lawyers before you vote. Because if you sit here and take a vote, and the other process, I would much rather you call another meeting 48 hours after you get your lawyer's opinions and hopefully have a solution then, one way or the other. But anyway,
I do just want to say that we did talk to the lawyers at the DLGF. So I don't want you to think that we didn't do
We
that.
talked to our local county lawyer also.
Well, I understand, but unfortunately lawyers disagree, and that's why we end up in
Yeah.
lawsuits.
Well,
I do come from the law background, and I worked in house counsel, and my whole thing was, let's not get into a legal battle. Let's work this out amongst ourselves. All parties lose when there's a legal battle. So, except the lawyers.
Yeah.
I mean, I must admit, we had our lawyers, and I would say, that's the wrong advice. They're just getting you to pay more money, you know?
I'm just saying we have to trust the ones that we've spoken to for the county side and then the state.
Well, okay, you said you got a second opinion, but even then, even if the lawyers say you're right, the electorate wants collaboration. So who cares? Who cares what the lawyer says?
No, I'm just saying, I appreciate everybody in this room, but there are a lot of people who aren't in this room who have reached out to me with a difference of opinion than what some people in this room have, and they're very adamant that we properly fund those services for reasons, just like what Stan said.
I'm not saying don't fund it, or don't properly fund it.
We can't say everybody in this room is the entire community.
I'm not saying, but they represent a large part of it.
I appreciate their opinions.
They're presenting a large percentage of them. So they're just asking for collaboration. Give it to them. Keep the community together, don't tear it apart. Or if someone else comes into these places next November, we may be back here again, changing the law and changing the rates. And you can get into a vicious cycle that way. You need consensus. Now that may sound like a dirty word, but I think you need consensus. So get out there, it's difficult. I remember, what was his name, the actor Douglas, and the president? He said government is damn hard, but it's worth fighting for.
Yeah.
So let's fight for it, and let's fight for it in a consensus type of manner.
And I've welcomed other options, if anybody else has any other proposals, because there's nothing else that I see, but the only thing I get is raise the taxes, and that's not something I'm willing to do.
Well, first of all, you ask for a committee for $50,000, ask for a committee to come up with options.
We're right in the middle of the budget session, though, where we're getting ready to start it.
And what are you gonna do if you do a budget and then something happens and this blows up in your face?
What's gonna blow up?
You know,
That's how
properly
the mayor files a lawsuit.
I
and-
feel like we were elected to make hard decisions, and if they don't like our decisions, then they vote us out and they get someone in that they agree with. We're in a tough decision now, and
What's the immediate need? Can you tell me, again, we got the ambulances, what is the immediate need?
we need to start funding these emergency services. And
It takes a number of years. You
where
can't
we
do it.
don't have to use the ARP money to get an ambulance and so forth. I mean, we've said this over and over again, but election has consequences, and this could be it. I mean, we could be voted out.
But again, I don't know that serves the community that you get voted out.
Well, this isn't all Perry County right
Well,
here.
no, I
so
understand that. I'm just saying, I don't know
That's
that.
why I would
helps
like to have that put on a referendum if the people in Perry County want their taxes raised for this service, emergency
You
service.
just told me you have to make hard decisions. So
Well, we
I guess you
did.
need to make the hard decision to raise
Well,
the
we
taxes
did,
if you
and
want.
we did,
But,
and we are, so.
but if you do that, the problem with that, of course, is you need to educate the public on what the issues are. For instance, I have no idea whether they know that the average
Well,
lit income tax rate here is 1.6.
Which would require us to raise the taxes.
What is?
Ours is 1.4, so you're saying we would get the 0.23.
No, I'm
from
just saying that's
increasing
an
the tax.
option. I am saying getting a committee
Yeah,
together.
it's absolutely an option. It's just not one I'm
I'm
willing to
just
do.
saying, get the committee together, let them come up with solutions, let them come up with suggestions, just like you did that for the $50,000 that Jenny Bruner wants. You said there has to be an advisory group. Get together an advisory group. Include the people who are losing money in this. I understand you guys are saying it. You'll be in the group. You get to put your opinion too.
But we're elected to do these very things that we're doing
And-
right here.
And so are the city people.
And they govern the
yeah,
cities.
And they, at the city.
Well, and if they're taking their
Got their
money.
options too.
We're not taking their money. We're just reallocating it to public service. Or to public,
You are taking
safety,
money
I mean.
that they had for their projects and you're putting them to them for you all to do your projects.
No, it's not our projects. It's a service that's for every resident of Perry County.
Right.
If we want to have an adequate ambulance, jail operation and dispatch, we have to do this. Either this or raise the taxes.
Well, it might help if you have, again, collaboration and having a committee. We're going back and forth. If you need it for $50,000, I think you need it for $1.1 million.
Thank you.
Hey, Jeff, I have something here. I don't know if this will help you or not, but this is from Fred Van Dorf, who's the Director of Budget Division and Department of Local Government Finance.
Who's no longer with them,
What's
he's
the
with the
date?
comptroller
What's the
now.
date on your communications?
This is in 2022.
I would seek an updated.
He says the wording on the adoption process for court counties is a little tricky. Any member of the Income Tax Council can pass a resolution that contains the ordinance to start the approval process. The voting ends once 50.1% of the votes are collected. In Perry County, the county unit represents 51.09% of the population. If they start the Income Tax Council review, or if they vote on a proposal by another member, they will be providing enough votes to approve or deny the proposal.
So he does not say that it's not the Perry County Income Tax Council that actually takes the vote.
Then that means.
You just said that
Right.
the
All those
Income Tax Council takes
exactly.
the vote. The point of my statement is this is not the Perry County Income Tax Council. You're not the appropriate body for this.
To
Has any
change the
council
tax.
member been
Change the
advised,
allocation. You're not the appropriate
has
body.
any council member been advised, this is a yes or no from all of you, that you're proceeding incorrectly?
No,
No,
You have not.
no,
I have been today.
no.
no.
All right, next question, real quick. Where is your legal representation at tonight? For such
He had a death in the family and he's behind and couldn't be here.
I understand that, okay. I would
Chris,
just.
you need to come up here, please.
Sure. Yeah, nice to see y'all again. Chris Kell, Mayor of Tell City.
So the cameras can see.
Yeah, that's fine. Chris Kell, Mayor of Tell City. Nice to see you all again. You know, my fear is if you do approve this and you find out later it wasn't legally done, the process. It's giving false hope to you guys for your budget when you're planning. So now you're going to go back and erase those numbers or move around because now you're going to be planning for the 1.1. It's given the city and Troy and Cannleton false numbers now because we're going to have to go back and rework our budget. If you guys could do 40 hours notice, what's today, Wednesday? You can have a meeting on Monday or Friday if you want. Sit down, call an attorney that specializes in this. There's a number of them out there. And just, my concern is just, if there's a doubt that it's the wrong process at all, go figure it out, wait 48 hours. I mean, what's 4 acres gonna kill?
Emily Chrysler, general counselor with the DLGF, assured us that we're,
And you told her we were a co-op community and she said that you did not have to
Yes.
go through
yes,
the tax council?
yes, that's,
Really? Okay. Well, I mean, I just, again, and if you have to go through, if the,
Conference call and verify that, I mean, have Chris listen to.
I'd be happy to. That's the communication thing, you know, if we'd have gotten, you know, a call, say, hey, Mayor, we're broke. We need money
we went
for
through
this.
all this in 2022 with Baker Tilly.
Right, and if you did it wrong, what if you find out this is wrong here and then you did it wrong then what? Who's liable? Who's liable? If you guys did it wrong then with that tax rate, decreasing it, because you decreased it, right, from, is it 80 and down to 40, am I wrong? I don't.
1.8 to 1.4, but it's because the jail was paid off.
Right,
We
and you decreased it.
actually increased edit that.
And then they increased,
Did it, okay, but I mean, if you fight, I just don't want to see you all get in trouble. I really don't. I genuinely, I appreciate everybody being here, I appreciate all your comments and your difference of opinions. But I mean, I don't want to see the council have to go back now and, well, rescind it.
I mean, we could do that just as easy as we could. I mean, tomorrow if we find out and call and get on a call with Jeff and find out, we could have a 48-hour meeting and resend it if that's what needs to happen.
I mean, if the town.
It's no difference whether,
And if the county officials have the majority of 51% on the tax council, that's great, but you still need to call it and vote it and send out proper notification through that tax council. I'm not a lawyer, I didn't go to law school, I'm just,
Yeah.
he is.
yeah.
But again, I'm not against you planning for public safety. I think it's great that you guys are looking into it. I really do. I appreciate that. And I hope in the very near future that as a city and a county, we can have better discussions and working together to work to make that happen.
We
I
actually
respect
followed
that.
the same procedures in 21, 22, and 24.
My mom and dad told me that 2 wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah, that could be.
Right, and that's my fear. And so I'm gonna sit down, but thank you all.
Thank you.
My mama told me haste makes waste. Mama, I still.
Next, we had,
I want to expand a little bit on our tax rates, and we hear a lot about head tax rates being higher, but, you know, we're not on a level playing field with the rest of the state. I wish we had 1,000 acres along the river, flat, above floodplains, we could bring batteries in. I wish we had 1,000 acres outside the interstate, flat ground. Our input costs, our site preparation costs, a lot more than the rest of the state. So therefore, yeah, our tax rate's a little bit higher per acre, but look what it's done for us. Look what PCDC's done for us, what the hoops they've jumped through to get this. So I'm not too concerned about the head tax rate. You get what you pay for, people, and that's the bottom line is, and we've been very lucky, PCDC's done a tremendous job of bringing in and retaining and working with employers. So that, to me, that goes a long way to explain why our tax rate, you can't really compare it to the rest of the state. It's just on the terrain that we have here.
Okay, next person on the sign-up sheet is Larry Kleeman.
I get 5 minutes. Is that right?
Yeah, or 3.
I'll try to keep it to that. First, I have no problem with the attempt to fund the services that you're wanting to fund. I do have a serious problem with the way you're going about doing it. I think Jeff Hagerton is right, and I think it's going to, if you continue with this, I think it will lead to legal action. And while we're talking about legal action, I do have one question. What you're considering today in reallocating the lift rates among the different categories, when will that be effective?
January 1, 2025.
Okay, that's what I thought. The legal notice that you published in the paper, David, for the public hearing had an effective date of October the 1st of 2024.
That's for the change of the rate. The actual change of the tax rate, which actually there was no change. It's at 1.4. So in October, everybody was withholding, if that would have changed, you've been required to make a change on your withholdings.
The effective date that you had in the legal notice for the public hearing was for the action that you're taking today.
It says the local income tax proposed above will become effective October 1st. So the rate was 1.4 and it will end up 1.4. This is from the
There's
newspaper.
change in it, but it would, had there been a change, then it would have been effective, or well, it is effective, but the change would have taken place on October 1st. And so then I, as an employer, would have to start withholding 1.5 instead of 1.4 from paychecks.
So you're not required to have a public hearing to reallocate?
Yeah, we just did.
We did that.
Then you have, again, you advertise the public hearing, but a different effective date than what you're acting on. So in my mind, and I'm not a lawyer, I'll let the lawyers worry about that, but that's one point I wanted to make. Kelly, I do have a question for you. You mentioned at the last meeting about Perry County's rate being so much higher than a lot of counties in the state. Now,
I watched your meeting and you said that I said the 1.4 is higher than 60 to 66 counties, and I didn't say that. So I just want to correct that. I said the edit tax rate, not the local income tax rate overall.
I thought you said the
No.
local
she did not.
tax overall. Okay. Well, regardless whether it's the edit tax or the local income tax, that's a false comparison. You're not comparing apples to apples because it's an income tax paid by the workforce of the county. So Perry County has a workforce of, I think, 7,000, 7,500 maybe, workforce, okay? So if you have the same tax rate in a county that has 15,000 population, they're collecting more income.
Not necessarily. Depends on their workforce. I mean, there's a lot of
If they
factors
had
here.
15,000 in their workforce.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant just population.
Well, I'm sorry, I meant or workforce, okay? So,
It doesn't mean they have higher paying jobs. They could have lower paying jobs. There's a lot of factors here, Larry. All I said was I wasn't talking about.
You can't tell me that a county that has double the workforce is paying half the wage that is being paid in Perry County, okay? It's not a fair comparison.
Okay, but I didn't compare revenue. I didn't say revenue generated. I said the rates. I'm comparing the rates. And so you're taking it a little bit out of context here. That's not what I said. I said the edit rates are higher than
The amount of
these.
revenue that's generated is what you're shooting for, though, correct?
That's not what I said. No, you're taking it into something else. That's not what I said.
Okay, I'm not gonna argue that. Okay. I want to talk about the project, and by the way, I'm representing myself here. I'm not representing the mayor or the Tell City Council. I'm representing myself. But I want to talk about Tell City prepares a 3-year edit plan, which has been mentioned before, and I'm not going to list all of the projects that Tell City has planned for. But I do want to talk about one particular project, and I mentioned this I think at the last meeting, and it was kind of laughed about. One of the projects that Tell City's been working on for a long time, probably at least 5 years, is to construct a sidewalk from on Highway 66, on the east side of Highway 66, from Washington Street to William Tell Boulevard. We have budgeted in our 3-year edit plan the use of $230,000 of edit funds, which are being used to match a federal and state grant that has been approved and is supposed to be under construction in fiscal year 26, that sidewalk. I don't know, Chris, I know it's over $1 million. It's a multi-million-dollar project. I don't have the exact figure with me. A sidewalk is a public safety issue. There are currently no sidewalks up in that area. There are people walking all the time along the side of the road or out in the middle of the road. It will provide pedestrian access to customers and employees for, I'm guessing, around a dozen businesses up there, including Wendy's and Arby's and Dairy Queen, the movie theater, and Circle S. Provides safe access for those customers and employees. Additionally, it provides pedestrian access for the first time to all the residents in Bergen Hills to downtown Tell City. Bergen Hills was developed nearly 50 years ago, and there were no sidewalks built there. And there are no sidewalks on Highway 66. So for the first time, this would provide access to all the folks who live or visit in Bergen Hills. Access to be able to walk to downtown Tell City. Now, maybe that doesn't sound like much. So those residents of Bergen Hills, it does. I've had many of them. This is in my ward. I've had many of them ask about this project. They're very eager to see this project proceed. And without the edit funds, with Tell City losing nearly $372,000 of edit funds, there's a question in my mind as to whether that project will be able to happen or not. Now, to further complicate it, because you have to plan so far in advance on these federal and state projects, Tell City is stuck with the engineering fees, whether the project proceeds or not. Okay? So I just want to point that out.
So Larry, you would just, I mean, because you're getting a reduction, you would just have to prioritize what projects need to be at the top and what, there's nothing saying you can't fully fund that project. That would be up to the leadership of Tell City where your priorities are. within your edit fund, just like the county, just like Cannleton, just like Troy.
Hey, Larry,
That's correct, but we don't need to do that.
I don't,
You don't need to prioritize?
I don't have sidewalks either. I'm in town, my street floods, and I'm out there lightning, knee-deep in water, trying to unclog drains. So we need to do some things on that end too, not just build
Okay,
a
where do you live,
sidewalk out.
Stan? Where do you
I
live?
live on Mozart.
On Mozart, okay, yeah.
It's been a problem for a long time. If you're a
There's,
councilman, you should know the problem areas.
That's not my ward, Stan, I'm sorry.
Well, you should know about the whole city though.
No, I
Well,
represent,
Larry, you've lived here the whole city.
excuse me,
So all this time, I know how old
I
you are.
represent the ward that Kelly lives in, Stan, not you. So, okay, we're not gonna get into that debate, okay? Okay, and I want to talk now a little bit about one of the other projects that we fund is the Perry County Development Corporation. And full disclosure, I serve on that board of directors as of this year as a representative of Tell City. Kelly serves on that board of directors. Randy Cole serves on that board of directors. I just wanted to highlight a few things, just a few things, that the Perry County Development Corporation has done. In 2023, they responded to 16 requests for information from the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, I think primarily, regarding prospective new businesses. They conducted 4 site visits. It's very competitive, as Paul had mentioned. The amount of referrals that the PCDC gets, you have a lot of them looking for 1,000 acres, as Paul mentioned. Well, we don't even qualify for that, okay? So it's very selective, the number of people that we actually get to visit the site. But there were 4 site visits conducted in 2023. They responded to 16 requests for information. So far in 2024, I think this is probably as of June or so, they responded to 7 requests for information. They partnered with the Southwest Indiana Small Business Development Center to provide one-on-one business counseling services at no cost to Perry County residents. In 2023, there were two new business starts, 2 jobs created, and 32 jobs retained. They worked with Ron Smith on the completion of the 36-unit apartment complex on downtown Tell City, a $4 million investment. They worked with the Perry County Redevelopment Commission to secure $775,000 of ready funds to aid in the development of 27 single-family homes in the Forest Canton Heights subdivision, anticipated to be a $10 million plus investment. They worked with the Case Boats to secure $1 million in ready funds to help with infrastructure costs for the Hoosier Heights subdivision, which has the potential for 80 more single-family home lots. They're working with Tell City currently on a 40-unit housing project. If they're successful, hopefully ground will be broken in 2025. $13 million investment. The old Swiss plywood property. They're working on a 40-unit housing project in downtown Tell City with a private investor. I'm sorry, no, that was the one I mentioned. They're working on another local developer on a 24 to 36 unit development with potential to break ground in 2025. They obtained a 212% increase in the Child Care and Development Fund, CCDF, reimbursement rate from the state so that parents that qualify for that program can reduce their child care costs. That created an extra $250,000 of state and federal funds coming into Perry County. They successfully advocated for the creation of $25 million state fund to incentivize employer-sponsored childcare. $100,000 approximately was awarded to Perry Central School Corporation. They secured $600,000 in ready funding for the Tell City Sports Complex. By the way, Tell City also has money budgeted in its edit fund for the sports complex. And just an editorial note, we asked the county for some ARP funds, and to the best of my knowledge, they have not awarded us any funds for the sports complex, although that serves county residents, right? And brings in.
About 66%, from what I understand, are county residents that come to our complex.
Yeah.
And the reason for that, I want to clarify for editorial reasons, is the presentation that was made to us, and it can be viewed online. There was no data besides a sketch drawing, a preliminary drawing, no quotes, no anything that we asked for. We asked for all kinds of information, and we didn't get that, so it was not approved to move forward with funding.
So we didn't meet the bureaucracy standards.
No, that's not correct. We asked for certain things and you didn't provide those things, so.
What things were there?
There were several things. You can go back and I can send you the link to the meeting. There were several things that we put out that were required, including quotes and bids and certain things for specs for your project and all those type things. We didn't get all that.
Everybody got awards,
Yep.
you do all those things.
Yep, that's correct.
Getting back to PCDC impact also, they secured $350,000 in ready funds for facility upgrades for Ivy Tech in Tell City. And then they conduct what's called Make My Move program. And there were 3 new households that moved into Perry County with 8 residents, estimated to generate, these are estimates, generate $151,000 in new annual direct and indirect consumer spending, increases state sales tax by $8,500, increases the local income tax by $4,600. Those are just some of the things that Perry County Development Corporation has done.
I have a question for you, Larry. Are you insinuating that they're going to be cut or it's not a priority to you to fund them? Because nowhere did we say that you can't fund PCDC. I don't know where that's coming from, because you absolutely can. I mean, it just has to be, you'll have to make priorities with the funding that you have. And so there's no reason you can't, you have enough money coming in and then some to properly fund them, to fund them at what you are now.
I understand that, and we're getting ready to enter the budget discussions currently. What we have proposed in our 3-year edit plan, though, is what we have proposed, okay?
I understand.
They're all legitimate projects.
I'm not questioning that.
And in my opinion, the county should have never reduced the $1.80 tax.
The tax rate from 1.8, you don't think we should have ever reduced it when we paid the jail off?
That's correct. If you had a need for all these services, that was the wrong thing to do.
At the time, there might not have been that need. I don't know. I can't speak to it. I wasn't here.
David, I think you were here, right? Did you have a need for emergency services? Or the jail operations?
Well, the costs go up every year, Larry.
Well, we actually did increase taxes. We did increase taxes. When we did away with the jail, we increased taxes.
The overall went from 1.8 to 1.4, and it could have been lower.
To edit, we put 0.02 to PSAT and 0.03 to certified share. And we did away with the jail tax because the citizens were overtaxed for years with this jail tax. That's one of the first things I noticed when I came on the council.
That's your opinion.
To the tune of 3.1 million is actually what it is.
Pardon me?
It's actually 3.1 million. We're showing 2.5, but it's actually
We were able
3.
to pay off the bonds 10 years early. And save
Okay,
$1 million.
but aren't you
interest.
using that money now to build the prosecutor's office?
But I would much rather have not
Maybe-
collected it
maybe
from
that
the
was
people.
Pre-planning
No,
instead of overtaxation.
that wasn't the intent of the original tax. When it was set up to build the jail, not to have $3.1 million extra that now is restricted. That was not the intent. It's not what it
Thank
was
you.
sold to the public.
Can I? He just told me specifics as to what he's using edit funds for.
Uh-huh.
Again, can you answer the question I had is,
Yeah.
what specifically is that 1.1? I know you say it's for the public safety. I know you say this other stuff. Can you tell us specifics of where it's going within those? Because I just heard from Larry, specifics as to where his edit funds go. Can you tell me specifics of where these new funds will now go that will be coming from Tell City and going to the?
To those 3 categories. I'm
I'm asking you, what are the specifics? Those are pretty broad categories. I'm asking you for specifics.
Right.
What
Okay.
has the sheriff department asked you for?
well,
What
the-
has the ambulance services asked you for? That's all.
Okay.
He gave me specifics. I'm just asking for
okay,
specifics.
so we're not adequately funding our subsidy from the ambulance service. And they're still having, it's to my understanding, problems getting employees because other counties are raising their wages and we have to be competitive with other counties or we're never going to get, the proper EMS people to come here, the paramedics and the EMTs. So that's always a struggle because it's kind of like a game right now. So we have to properly fund the subsidy. We have to properly plan for the future for the equipment and all the things, which means we have to start putting back now for whenever in 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, when those things go bad, we have to have the money. We can't sit around and wait for a windfall of opioid funds, or hopefully the federal government gives us some ARP funds from the sky, or whatever it is. That's not good planning. That is not proper planning. That's not what we should be doing. That's not what I don't think most of us do in our household for things. And it's not what you should expect from the government, I don't think, but that's how I feel about it. But the jail, the costs continue to go up. We've had additional appropriations. We are constantly getting extra costs coming in for janitorial supplies, maintenance supplies. Things go bad. We need additional employees. The food costs are through the roof. There's all kinds of things. I could give you a list. I could go through all of the bills for the jail and show you all the operational costs of what it takes to operate that jail.
Currently, we are paying like $375,000 out of a reduced edit dollars to fund the jail. In
And that's the
edit
county
dollars,
share.
in the edit dollars, we only received like, 58% of those edit dollars. And we're paying, out of those edit dollars we currently are receiving, we're paying $375,000 out of those edit dollars to fund the jail.
So why would we touch the jail fund?
What jail fund?
Prosecutor.
No, that's a restricted fund for only capital
I
projects.
understand.
It's not for the jail. It's for any county building, including the jail, for capital projects.
But
You
it was
can't,
set aside for the jail, Kelly.
it was
set aside for the
it was
jail.
initially
It's
to build the
legislation.
jail. That's how it was sold to the
I
people.
literally have it on my phone.
Okay.
Whenever this tax was passed, to fund the building of the jail, it was only to build the jail. And once you built the jail, paid off the bonds, it was never intended to use for operational purposes. That was
Yeah.
how it was sold to the taxpayers.
Yeah.
At the time.
Okay, let me ask you this, and surely to God, you can understand how a common person would think, we're adding an additional building and an additional expense, and we are now arguing over money for the cities. This is not.
That's a restricted fund. It has nothing to do with this.
We can't,
David,
It's a restricted fund. It has nothing to do with that.
okay, but what I'm saying is, all of these things have to be serviced. There were $650,000 for EMS that they had to write off 400 of last year because we only paid $186,000. Sorry, thank you. He hasn't been consulted on money.
we know he needs money. We know he
That's
needs. They come every year.
what
They come every year.
In the community, Alan came and asked for vehicles yesterday. We know we need EMS staff. There's no point in buying ambulances if we don't have staff for
We
them.
need staff
So,
and
hang
ambulances
on,
and
hold on,
equipment.
please. What I'm trying to say is,
you have your leadership, you have an attorney who is amazing, let me tell you, he's got me out of some pickles. And I'm not kidding when I say, you guys ignore every single thing and have an argument. You're not listening to anything anybody is saying. There's a motion on the table an hour ago.
I know, but I stopped that because you have, in legal, we have to get through all the public comments before any business can be done.
Real quick, question, last year or this year's budget, you budgeted a certain amount of money for EMS services, the jail, right? How much of that would you guess there is? How much did you budget currently for the?
I don't have my book, I can't speak to it.
No, I'm getting at is, are you gonna, what is your, will you still give, let's say you gave 500,000 for jail operations for the budget this year, using your general fund or whatever, do you plan to use that same 500 on top of the other amount, or are you gonna reappropriate that money now for something else to pay other things, to fund your budget other ways?
That's,
See what I'm saying? I mean, what I'm getting at is if you remove edit funds and change it around, and you take your general fund money and reappropriate it to fund your other budgets, I'm gonna be mad then. Because I expect you take that original amount on top of this to fund.
It's kind of like when we did the PSAT thing, where we used to be paying like only, say, 170,000, and we started paying like
Well, we didn't
700,000,
pay 170.
whatever,
We used
200,
state 911 funds first.
200, yeah.
Plus a little bit of your general.
Yeah.
Tell City got the raw.
But now we are trying to correct that. And so that made available to you like almost
that's right.
$500,000 in new funds. What did you use those funds for?
What'd you say?
What did you use those
We
funds
use those
for?
funds, we actually have a full-time Parks and Rec director, we improved our parks. We actually gave increases for the police department to make sure those sides are competitive. As you all know, it's a very important profession, and it is far few between to get a lot of good candidates to qualify. So that's just about 3 or 4 in there. And all honestly, I mean, Tell City was robbed
Right.
out of millions of dollars for 30, 40, 50 years.
And the county made an
And
initiative
we're
to
trying
make it
correct
right.
that.
They did.
And you know that.
Well, they made the initiative because I made the initiative. I brought it up. The county didn't come to me and say, hey, here's some money. I had to, if you were right there fighting beside me, I had to bring that call up. If you remember. I took a lot of heat from that.
So
I
I think,
lost friendships with Alan almost over.
the question you're asking is, what is the county going to do with the $460,000 that is currently funding these services out of other funds that are now going to be funded out of edit? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, and will those monies be allocated for other?
We haven't been through our budget. I can't sit here and say what's gonna be
Off of
here,
the
here, and
current
here.
2024 budget as of what they're being funded for.
I just want to
We
see,
have like
I mean, if you're gonna really fund this, I don't expect you to
public attorneys that
pay
we,
Peter to pay Paul to rearrange funds. I expect you to, if you need this money, you need it. That's great.
Yeah.
Double on top of what you got and put it in it. I don't want to see you guys taking what you currently funded and using it to pay other things. You know, funding other this or funding other, that's where I'm gonna be upset with.
Like hypothetically taking public safety to fund solid waste, and at the end of the
You can't
year,
do that.
moving edit over to fund
Right.
the public safety.
I'm not saying that's what you would do, but that would accept.
Hypothetically.
I just would want to see that you, if you're really serious about it, I think you all are, and I appreciate that. Put that money on top of ours already funded it and show us that. That would really speak loud, I think, to all the taxpayers. If you would-
Well, the intention's not to take the money and then just take our money and do whatever we want.
That's what I'm
That's
asking.
not the intention.
Okay, good.
That's not my intention.
Okay, that was my question.
It's a properly planned. Now, some of it may have to be set aside for future purchases for things like EMS or, you know, if there's something coming for the jail operations that they need.
For many years to fund our fire trucks, and now I can't say when we need a new ladder truck, we're gonna afford it, because that's public safety money that you guys have reallocated for your stuff, and now it leaves us high and dry, which y'all don't have a ladder truck. We need, that ladder truck benefits this whole county. So I'm hoping if we need a new one, I may come to you guys, see, hey, would you chip in 300,000? Because I guarantee you, when your ladder truck's needed, it'll show up at anyone's home in this county.
Isn't that what you have like a $600,000 edit reserve for?
I put money back every year, but it's gonna be harder to put it back.
I understand, but you could still make it a priority in there and somewhere if you
know,
wanted to.
You can only have so many priorities not to cut service.
I understand. I would just, you know, that's up to the leadership of Tell
as a
City.
county, we have nothing put back,
We have nothing.
to my knowledge.
Rainy day fund
It's
is
got
almost
30,000.
We just put
zero.
money in, a little bit in our rainy day fund, because we prioritize that stuff and we watch our
And
spending.
that's what we're
That's
trying
what
to
we're
do
trying
here.
to do.
I was thank you, I hope that I just be
Yeah.
upset if you done a Peter to pay Paul kind of a thing.
That's not my
Like a
intention.
switch and make kind of.
So I can't speak for everybody.
I do have one question. In the May 30th minutes, it spoke that Baker Tilly was going to advise on this. And what did you get from Baker Tilly as far as advisement on this? Because that's what was discussed at the May 30th meeting.
Well, they reviewed the proposed ordinance and the proposal that went into paper. They had provided us with a, an Excel spreadsheet of the,
Because that's what was, I just want to say, that was what was talked about in the May 30th
of what the
meeting.
change would be in that
No,
reducing.
it said reallocation of tax to specific tax components. David Achen stated that in the recent legislation, there can be 2% going to EMS and another 0.2 to jail operations. He feels the council should look at reallocating some of the tax to specific components so that it can be utilized for the county in the future and possibilities with budgeting. This could help increase the PSAP up to the maximum of 1% to help fund things that are required by the county to provide. He further stated that Baker Tilly may need to be involved to look at this. Kelly stated she feels this is a good idea to better assist with planning for the future. That's what was stated. The motion was made to consult with Baker Tilly by Kelly, seconded by Stan. Motion carried 6-0-1. So I guess somebody abstained.
I'm gonna first approach. This is from the DLGF. You said they gave you permission? That this was cool? This is a PowerPoint presentation by the DLGF. Have you seen that before?
Maybe, I'm not.
Maybe? Well, let me read. It says, Indiana Code 6-3, 1.63-1 outlines adopted body as either a county physical body or a local income tax council. This is dependent upon the county's income tax structure. And on the side here, it says local income tax council. If the county was a former Collet County, which we are, right, Connie? Former. Okay, there's the answer. Then the adopting body is the local income tax council. The county and each city in town, Tell City, County, Troy, which they're right over there, has the opportunity to pass resolutions and vote on changes to the configurations of within the county. That is from the DOJ. If you're going to do it, and I can support doing some of this, follow the process. That's all I ask. That's simple. And we maybe pass time frames, I can't help that.
All I can tell you is, we received, it says in Code 63, Section 63-2 provides that in the context of action on local income taxes, an adopting body, meaning a local income tax council or a county council or other government entity may submit a proposal, notice, ordinance, or resolution to the Department of Local Government Finance Department for review. The department must provide the submitting entity a determination of the appropriateness of the proposed notice, ordinance, or resolution, including recommended modifications within 30 days of receiving the proposed notice, ordinance, or resolution. We did submit this to DLGF, and they did come back with it, said it was approved.
Were they aware that we are co-ed?
Yes.
And you've not been advised by
I just read it to you earlier.
You've not been advised by the DLGF, Baker Tilly, or anybody.
I think they made a mistake.
The council's not been advised by any lawyers or anything that they're not following the process.
When's the last time you talked to Jason Stemler?
All right, that's all I have. And again, I'm sure I'll be talked about on Facebook. Motions ran high, but I'm very passionate and I care about the process.
Jason also
Being done right. That's all I care about.
We do too. We actually want to do this.
Jason said it's cool. You want to call real quick?
Yes. You can if you want.
I would just
Why
like
Why not?
lawyers have the same information, because even though you said it was Todd, maybe he didn't hear it, because a lot of times, again, it's a communication problem sometimes.
I mean,
And if you clarify something for the lawyers, like they say, well, that changes my opinion.
So whether
This is April of 2024, very current.
So, I mean, as I heard you read that, it almost sounded like the party that adopted it, whoever adopted it, they said it could be Colin or someone else, must be the ones who make the changes.
Right.
So if this was originally done by the income tax board or whatever it was, and not the council, then they must be the ones who then, if it's still in existence and hadn't been disbanded, then they must be the ones who make the second recommendation. Now, I must admit, my hearing's not the best, and I see things better when it's in front of me, but I'm just saying what you read to me said or, and it almost sounded like it was whoever adopted it originally has to go back and change it.
Which involves the counties, the cities and townships in the 90s.
If it was a co-ed board, yeah, I did, yeah, I mean, again, I'm not saying what you're writing, I'm
If you
just.
Perry County Income Tax Council.
All I ask, if you're gonna do
They're the
it,
ones
follow
who
the
adopted
legal
it,
process.
they're still in
That's all I
existence,
ask,
and they would
not
be the
much.
ones who have to change it.
We were told we did, so.
If the DLJ is wrong, they don't give legal advice.
So if we vote on this today and we find out tomorrow for some reason there's some kind of difference because we were told that we were doing this in the proper process, then we can schedule a 48-hour meeting and do something differently. I mean, what's the
Or you can
difference?
delay it.
And what's the difference? I mean, it's still a 48-hour meeting either, I mean, at the end of the day, we still have to have a 48-hour meeting if we're right or wrong.
It's fine, then.
I mean, I've turned everything into a state public access attorney, his name's Britt, because I can't get public records on this. Like, that DLGF was an attachment that could have been public, and it wasn't. I mean, we can't even get I couldn't get a response other than Chris and Keith about something that's happening to the public.
What DLGF did you say? What is it? A
The
document?
personal email that David sent from his personal email to you and Randy to the state financial officer had an attachment with it.
It wasn't a personal email, it was a work email.
It's your personal email, David.
It's my work email, not my personal.
David,
I don't understand.
can you explain why you did that?
It's not your
Can you
public
explain
official
that-
email address, so
So I can use that, an email.
you did, I know, I'm not asking if you can. What I'm saying is, you are now getting one attorney telling you you shouldn't do this without a legal opinion.
But we did get a legal
The
opinion.
public does not have access to the records since it was done since May 30th, but everything I have is July 10th and after. You guys are putting yourself in some pickles. Just saying, that's my word for the day, pickles. And I think everybody needs to understand that. It doesn't matter if one person on each board say this is okay. They don't make the law. The judicial side is very different. So the law is very black and white. It is very clear. So if you think it's one thing, that doesn't mean it is. And I'm just telling you, this is being done incorrectly. You can take my word for it, or we can keep going up the chain. This is gonna stop all of it.
We voted on everything.
I'm aware, but that doesn't mean that it was correct.
Larry
And
Klingler was the last
Oh,
one.
I don't know what else
if
could be
you have a
done.
mayor and an attorney telling you that this is not correct and.
And we have the DLGF and the county attorney telling us it
In
is.
2022, in 2022, this is
No,
2022.
recently, for this
Can I see
hearing.
the email
I don't have an
and
email.
the Excel?
I don't have an
sheet?
email. It was on a phone call. I don't have an
He
email.
said there was an Excel sheet
Well,
with the new information.
I don't know.
New information on what?
You look at me like you don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't usually.
You got an Excel spreadsheet
You mean the one that with all the,
from did you just say that? I'm
Nothing
sorry.
that- I didn't get it. I didn't get it.
Serious.
I didn't get.
I think he's talking
DLGF.
about like what was in the newspaper. They approved, they said these are all accurate rates. or
That's what I was
whatever.
talking about.
You know what? We should all, everyone, not me. You should all sit down in a room and not do this publicly because it's embarrassing.
Why should the public not be involved in this
Well, I
conversation?
don't know, Kelly, I can't be involved in anything else, so.
Megan,
You're
no
here.
dis- no
You're here talking.
disrespect to you, but David, your public speaking is done. There's no
Yes,
Yeah.
control.
sorry.
Can we move on?
I
Harvey,
would just
One
want
way
to
or
say,
another.
you should get a written legal opinion, it shouldn't be oral. You should have what's going to them, specifically what your request is, and they should
Harvey,
bring
you-
it back.
I made a
If you don't have a
motion.
written opinion,
okay, Paul made a motion to table, second by Keith. Any other discussion on tabling? Seeing none,
So
I'll
I do have a question. So whether we table it and do it in 48 hours or we vote today and then tomorrow something changes and we call him again and we get Jeff on the phone and we say, this is what you told us, Jeff, here's what you have. You lawyers hash this out and have a meeting in 48 hours. What's the difference is my question.
Well,
There's no difference.
the city can file a lawsuit tomorrow morning.
Well, legally, we believe we are following the process
And then we
because
can
of
be
what the
held
lawyers on the county side told us, just like
You said the DOJ.
they have the county attorney, Rod, and the DLGF attorney. I don't have her name handy.
Okay.
I don't have her name handy, but I can get it for
Emily
you.
Chrysler.
Emily Chrysler, yeah, that's her.
I'll call.
I mean, we can get them both on a phone call tomorrow to make sure.
That's the case, I think we should take.
But I mean, because we're gonna have to come back in 48 hours again anyways, if we could vote today, why can't we vote today, do this tomorrow, and then 48 hours? No, it's,
That would almost be like a vote of intent. We don't like votes of intent.
what?
What do you think I'll do?
You have a motion, you need to take a vote. You have a motion and a second. so
Yeah, I know that.
You need a vote.
We were discussing.
You were asking him what he
That's
thought.
disgusting.
Quietly, let everybody hear that you asked him what he thought.
He
What do you think?
Table it, David. I read on
I don't see where it would hurt to table it, you know, it's,
Thank you.
All those in favor of tabling, all those in favor of tabling, raise your right hand.
Thank you.
So what,
Motion to table carries 4-3.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you guys doing this. I really do. And I come off strong and
Anything else?
I care. And I care about you guys. I don't want you guys to. I honestly don't. And I hope you were given, I hope your advice was maybe bad advice in that sense, but I don't want you to be.
Right, Dave, you want a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Should be discussing.
are we still in a meeting? Okay, guys, we haven't adjourned the meeting.
A motion to King, second of that, adjourn, all in favor, signify saying aye.